Yo, Pan, you ready? Yeah. Man,
XB4 Nation, what is happening? If you've seen the XT, if you run the XT2, you've probably seen my video in there doing one for all the cars, kind of recap how the IOCC first annual race went. The Scotty Ernst race out in Las Vegas last week. You've probably seen a bunch of race reports from a bunch of different manufacturers. A lot of people were there, a lot of really great competition. And I want to recap some of the things with you that I did throughout the week to make my cars better and hopefully help you. Right now, talking about the XB4. My XB4, my setup sheet is in the description below, so take a look. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'll be honest, this is going to be short and sweet because my XB4 was freaking amazing. I had two different teams coming up, one measuring my car and the other one asking me, what to change or why my car was so good, right? So my car was really amazing, just the driver let it down a little bit. But I want to recap with you some of the things that I ran or that I did throughout the week to make some changes. The setup, it was a handout tire again. The setup is exactly what I ran that you see there, and honestly, everything I tried that was different didn't really pan out, and I ended up coming back. I tried thicker, a different front shock package to slow the roll a little bit. Tried a 4-hole piston, tried a 3-hole piston, smaller piston, and none of them really seemed. None of them seemed to give me the effect that I wanted. But I didn't have enough time to really test. I mean, you're really trying to get in as much practice as you can and make it as valuable as you can. But aside from that, I guess what I want to do is make some notes here of what was important to have on my car throughout the week. I went to a 5.5 motor, 5.5 Phantom motor. Definitely had the speed down the straightaway, added a touch of turbo timing to give it a little bit more down the straightaway. It was perfect in the infield. My Hobby Wing speed controller, ran a V3 because I blew up an XR10 the week before. Long story, we'll get there later, but added a little bit of turbo timing was good. Aluminum front steering rack and aluminum servo saver, just super important because on carpet, when you're motored up, when you are going super fast, pieces have a tendency to break, particularly in the steering. So made sure we didn't. We were strong there. Really nothing special here. Nothing crazy. Aluminum rear hubs. The one thing that I would advise is if you run a modified class, or if you're running modified 4-wheel, you can get away with the plastic gears in the diff for stock. But I'd highly suggest running the metal or the steel gears inside of the diff. I started with the plastic. I didn't have any problems with the front, but I did in one of the qualifiers while on a really good run. I blew out the rear diff with a lap to go, and instead of a 4th for the round, I had to settle for a 10th because it sheared off some of the gears in the diff. So I would highly suggest getting the metal gears for at the least the rear diff, because if you're racing on carpet and this thing is dumping over and then slamming that back rear tire down, probably going to need it. Aside from that, I mean, that's really it. The setup, again, as I say, it's exactly what I ran. The only difference, and I have a truck tire here from my last video, the only thing I did on the two things I did on the 4-wheel tires, on the buggy tires, is on the rear, I took off the outer row and the inner row of spikes, and I dremeled it smooth so that way it would roll a little bit. No glue on the rear tire. On the front tire of the 4-wheel, I glued the front sidewall to the base of the first spike. And if that was still too much steering, then I glued the rest of the way up the pin. What I found is if you're gluing the front sidewalls, the real difference maker is whether or not you glue that pin. That'll take you from eliminating just the overall traction rolling to the car pushing through the corners rather than gripping and getting through. So you can do the sidewall, and that'll help take away some of that initial grab. Because a lot of the jumps at IOCC where you jumped and you landed in a corner and were ripping steering real fast to get around the corner, and everybody was just flipping off the track. So Start by just doing the sidewall. If you need to take more away, if you're still traction rolling, go up the top of that outer pin, and I think that'll be a pretty good way for you. I did take one row out of my four-wheel tires, the first row of inside pins, but on main day, I actually left the tire full, and all I did was glue the sidewall, and I think that was just as good. So that's all I got. Got a dirt race coming up here at New Red Hobbies for the second round of the J Concept Super Cup. Be there with my Proline, X-Ray, Phantom, Shell rides. Look forward to talking to you soon. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know.